guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Giovanna and today I'll be talking to you guys about pretty much what I've been up to since I got accepted into law school. I know my last video was like months ago. It feels like months ago. It was months ago, but pretty much this summer I have just been trying to get prepared for law school mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, all of that. But most of the summer has pretty much been dedicated to moving, and I'm going to share my experience with that, moving, apartment hunting, what I had to do after I got accepted into law school, some of the steps I had to take and things of that sort. So if you didn't watch my last video, I pretty much shared that I will be attending Georgia State University this fall in Atlanta. And one of the first things I did once I was accepted was pretty much pay my seat deposit. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and start figuring out what I'm gonna do for housing, where I'm gonna live, what it's gonna cost me, all of that. And so that was back in April. I paid my seat deposit in April, I believe, and one of the first things I did was just look up the cost of attendance at Georgia State University in terms of how much they allocate for housing, for loans, because my biggest thing was I knew that I would be relying on loans and my savings to be able to pay all my monthly expenses. And so that was the first thing I did. I just looked up the cost of attendance, how much they would allocate. And then I also reached out to the school because I'm like, y'all, the rent here in Atlanta is ridiculous. Did y'all consider inflation, what's going on and this and that? And they said that they did. And so based off of that, that's when I started looking, and I'm just like, these rent prices are too high, too high. And so then I considered, you know, maybe I would need to do a budget appeal. And so if you don't know, most schools, most law schools, they have this thing called a budget appeal, or some schools may name it something differently. But what it is that you just submit documentation showing that the cost of attendance they allocate for students, basically you'll need more than what you're able to take out in loans based off of that cost of attendance the school provides. So say you have extra expenses, you know, bills that pretty much fall out of line of that cost of attendance they allocate for you, you could submit a budget appeal, and then hopefully maybe they will approve it and you'll be able to take out more in loans based off of that. Also, those expenses could be like a laptop, like I said, bills, rent, utilities, things of that sort. It just depends on the school. I'm pretty sure every law school does it. I'm not too sure, but all it is, you know, if you have expenses that exceed what that cost of attendance is, because every school sets basically like a minimum or a maximum amount that you could take out in loans. But sometimes you can just submit documentation showing that you need more and you'll be able to take out more. So I was thinking, you know, maybe I'll have to go down that route as well. At the end of the day, it's just more loans. And so I just try my best to stay clear of that and just try my best to find somewhere affordable, nice, all of that. And by the grace of God, I was able to find somewhere. So if you are an incoming law student that is moving for school, there's definitely a lot of things to consider. Like I said, for me personally, first thing was my budget, seeing where my money's coming from to be able to pay for rent and all my expenses. That was the number one thing. The second thing would be considering if you would want a roommate or not want a roommate. I think there's pros and cons to both, but at the end of the day, it's simply a personal preference in my opinion. Another thing would be, will you need a co-signer or a guarantor? Just being able to figure out what these apartment complexes sort of require. I think depending on the school, some schools do have like off-campus housing dedicated for grad students, law students, things of that sort. But other schools like Georgia State, they don't really have housing for, I guess, grad students or law students. I'm not too sure. I was looking into that, but I wasn't really seeing much. But then again, you can also look into areas where other university campuses are that have apartment complexes that are devoted to college students as well. So I remember looking in Emory University area, some of those apartment complexes, they work with students in terms of being able to get an apartment. So that's definitely something to think about. I would also say consider what your lease term agreement will look like in terms of the length, the amount of months that you'll be living in your apartment. For me personally, I did a 12-month lease, but I know some people do 10-month lease, or they basically mimic the academic school year. So just think about that, your money that's coming in your first year, because most people are not working their first year if you are a full-time student. So just think about what your lease term will be like and how you'll be able to pay your rent every month based off that. Another thing I personally tried to consider was maybe having a savings specifically meant for application fees and seat deposits, and then also furnishing my apartment. So that's also something to maybe think about. And then also just trying my best to be proactive and do everything ahead of time, instead of trying to wait last minute. But of course, it just depends on your situation and when exactly you're able to move for school. And so definitely just look into all of that, especially if you aren't starting law school this year, maybe starting next year or applying this cycle. Just take into account some of those things if you are thinking about moving for school. So the last thing I forgot to mention was work. If you have a job and you are planning to leave your job before school, definitely think about when exactly you will leave your job. Because me personally, I was sitting here thinking, okay, June 1st, I'll be gone. I want to be able to relax and have the summer to myself. No, I basically was at work until maybe mid-July, but I had to stay because y'all, I needed the money and I needed to save. But definitely think about that. If you want to definitely, you know, have your summer to yourself and not work, take into consideration, you know, when exactly you want to leave for that. So overall, those are some of the things that I would say definitely consider if you are an incoming law student, or if you're preparing to go to law school maybe next year, preparing to submit your application this year. Just think about some of these things ahead of time before you actually dive into moving and apartment hunting and things of that sort. I know all of those things I listed definitely came up in the process for me while I was transitioning. But besides all that, y'all, I will say that my summer before law school, overall, it was good. Like I said, most of it was devoted to moving and working, but I honestly do feel like I was able to get right in all the areas I needed to get right in. So that's all that matters. In terms of like future content, like what I'll be posting on this channel, my Black Women for Law page, honestly, I have not been posting or keeping up on that page as much as I would have liked to. But this summer, as I've said, it was just busy, y'all. It was just too much. And so I think for future content, especially with me embarking on this new journey of being a law student, I feel like more of my content will be devoted to that. But I definitely do still want to post information about being a pre-law student and what pretty much helped me during my journey to be able to get to law school as well. But either way, I just hope you guys continue to stay tuned. If you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me at Black Women for Law on Instagram. And I will also say, you know, I'll try my best to be more consistent with posting content pretty much on here and then also Instagram as well. But I hope you guys have a blessed month, a blessed August. This is my birthday month, so if your birthday's in August, shout out to you. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful month, and definitely stay encouraged. You know, like I always say in my other videos, if you are in this journey, whether you're studying for the LSAT, whether you are preparing to submit your law school application, or incoming student like me, definitely stay encouraged. Don't feel overwhelmed. Don't allow circumstances to deter you from moving forward. I feel like a lot of that happened to me early in my journey, but just keep pressing forward. For me, what helped me a lot was prayer and simply having faith in God. So definitely hang on to that and keep going. You got it. Believe in yourself, and everything will work out for your good. Believe in that.